The Forest is a supernatural horror film about the infamous location in Japan known as Aokigahara Forest. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, Aokigahara Forest is a spot in Japan located on Mount Fuji where many people over the years have tragically taken their own lives. So many, in fact, that the police there no longer even publicize the actual number of suicides so as to not promote it and the idea of it being a haven for suicide. Sadly, even annual body searches are conducted through the forest dating all the way back to as early as 1970. Now, with so much real-life horror being associated with the forest, naturally, as years have gone on, many people believe the dense landscape of Aokigahara to be haunted by the spirits of those who have died there. Now, you can probably find hundreds of videos right here on YouTube of people venturing through the dense forest during the day and at night, hoping to experience something supernatural, and some grimly even hoping to stumble on a dead body, including the occasional talentless attention whore. Now, whether you believe that the forest is truly haunted or not, it's definitely developed a reputation over the years to the point where, of course, Hollywood would decide to capitalize on the tragedy of real life, and thus we have 2016's The Forest. The film stars Natalie Dormer, most known for her role on Game of Thrones. As for the other actors in the film, there really isn't anyone, well-known or worth mentioning here, and believe me, that's not a knock on any of them at all, because I wouldn't want to be associated with this film either. I will, however, acknowledge those responsible for the development of this film, as it was written by Ben Gattai, Sarah Cornwell, and Nick Antosca, and it was directed by Jason Zada, or Zada, who cares. The film tells the story of Sarah, played by Natalie Dormer, who receives a call from Japanese police telling her that her sister Jess, who also happens to be her identical twin, was seen wandering into Aokigahara Forest and is believed to be dead. Sarah travels to Japan to search for her sister despite the worries of her fiancé. While in Japan, she meets a reporter named Aiden, and the two of them venture into the forest to find Sarah's sister. Now, I will give credit where it's due. There are a few, and when I say a few, I mean like literally 3, moments in this film that are actually making an effort to be creepy. There's a moment where Sarah and Aiden are walking through the forest, and Sarah notices what appears to be a body floating down a river below them. Now, it's far enough away that it's hard to tell for sure that it's a body, which does add a bit of genuine creep factor. It kind of opens up the idea that the forest presents in real life, which is the idea of, so much death being confined to this one area that you just may be confronted with it were you to venture through the forest yourself. There's also a moment where she comes across this Japanese girl just totally hamming it up beyond belief in this underground tunnel she falls into below the forest, and the facial expressions that this girl makes are genuinely unnerving. I mean, right off the bat, you know damn well that this is one of those evil demon ghost things, but then about 30 seconds later, the film just shits all over any remote creepiness that they have going for it. I mean, honestly, literally every moment of possible substance in this film is just shat on just as quickly as it pops up. The jump scares in this film are absolute dog shit, as is usual with overproduced Hollywood messes like this. The scary imagery is barely on the same level of a YouTube screamer video from about 10 years ago, and you can just tell from watching through this movie that no effort was made whatsoever to get under the audience's skin. No effort to show me anything worthwhile or interesting, and no effort to make me give a rat's ass about any of these moronic cardboard cutout characters they've slapped on the screen. Even Natalie Dormer, who I loved on Game of Thrones, gives this sad performance here that I will honestly have to attribute to bad directing as opposed to her skill as an actor, because I honestly haven't seen her in anything else, but I refuse to believe that this mess of a performance is anything other than just bad direction and piss poor writing. And honestly, I can't imagine any actor, no matter the caliber of talent, who would be able to make this script and this film come across effectively. Now, of course, despite the film being a bomb critically, the film was a moderate financial success, pulling in about $37 million after having a $10 million budget. When it comes down to it, though, this film just comes across as a low-budget waste of a good idea. And that's what really frustrates me the most about this movie. It's such a great idea, in my opinion, yet it's so poorly executed that it just pisses me off. You know, if you're gonna make a film based around real life tragedy, at least have the respect to put some effort into making a respectful story that shows both the horror and the drama of the real thing. You know, this should have been a horror movie wrapped in a drama, not a cliche-ridden Hollywood cash grab mess. Tell an old-fashioned ghost story that hits home on the sadness and the tragedy of what's taken place there, and, you know, have the scares be atmospheric and subtle, not over-the-top, YouTube-level jump scare trash that just makes a mockery of the real-life horror and real-life death. Just because this is the horror genre doesn't mean you have to dumb everything down to the lowest possible level. Now, you could probably take a wild stab in the dark here in saying that I'm not recommending this movie to you. Despite that, though, I'm not going to ruin the film for you. I'm not going to spoil the ending if for some reason you seem to have some sort of a morbid curiosity about it. For me, the ending is cheesy, it's cliche, and it's lame, and it's topped off with possibly the worst cut-to-black final jump scare scene in history. My suggestion would be to go look up some old screamer on E-Bomb's World, because I guarantee you'll probably find something with more effort and more precision put into it. Hopefully someday we can get a film based around Aokigahara Forest that both respects the history and tells an interesting and creepy story that stays with you. One thing I can say with absolute certainty is that The Forest is not that film. So with that being said, I want to know your thoughts. I would love to know your opinion on this movie. Have you seen it? If so, what did you think of it? If you haven't seen it, do you plan on seeing it? Did this review make you more interested, less interested in seeing it? I'd really love to know what people think about this, because I have a feeling there's probably going to be at least a few people out there who will defend this movie and will probably got some enjoyment out of it. That seems to be the case with every movie, no matter what, no matter how bad or good it is. There's usually defenders and opposers for it. So if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do me a favor and hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.